Hello, my friends on YouTube. Today is Sunday, the 14th of April 2024. Today's video is the prophet of pedophilia. Um, I'd like to speak about this subject because many Muslim leaders are actually trying hard to justify this atrocity. The founder of this ideology called Islam, when he was 51 years old, he, you could say, got engaged. I have no problem with any man or woman getting married. However, when a 51 years old man get engaged to a 6 years old child, I have a problem with that. And okay, you know what? If you want to get engaged to this child and wait until she come of age, let's say you wait until she's 18 and she is clear in her mind that she wants to marry you, I still have no problem with that. So you're over 60 and she is 18, no problem. If she agrees to this kind of marriage, it's her business. But the problem here is this man, and I shouldn't actually call a person like that a man, or he or she belongs to the human race. Whatever you want, give him title or creature or whatever it may be. Good luck. But this person at the age of 54 had a full sexual intercourse with a 9 years old. And this is clearly a violation. The thing is here, with the coming of the internet, many Muslim leaders are very embarrassed, very ashamed. Some of them, like myself, I say it as it is. This guy was a pedophilia person, and what he did was clearly wrong. So an average person doing that, he goes to prison. But when you say that I am a man of God or a prophet, that makes it much worse. And this is what the prophet of Allah had done. I'm going to read you a hadith that Aisha, the 6 years old girl, married at the age of when the prophet of Allah was 51, and then he had sexual relationship with her at the age of 9. He was 54. Okay, let's see. Okay, the book speaking about this is called Book of Nikah. Nikah is actually a word that it can be marriage, but most of the time is used for illicit sexual relationship between two individuals. It could be a man and a man, a woman and a woman, a man and a woman, but outside of marriage. Okay? So, the book is called Book of Nikah, Book of Sex, intercourse sex. Let's put it this way. It's really, when you speak about this stuff, it is Always, it should be over 18 or rather over 50. Uh, anyway, this is the main book. The chapter in the book that it speaks of these sickening things, it says, باب نكاح الصغار, the chapter of effing the young kids, young girls, whom have been given by their parents to a grown-up man to do that with them, selling them practically. And when we look at the subject of what have happened, I'm going to put that hadith in the description box, but I want you to be very careful with the translation. I'm going to give my own translation because they are trying to make that thing as a mild thing. And when you speak to or listen to the religious leaders, Islamic religious leaders, as they try hard to make this subject as it is normal, and it was very normal back then. So don't judge it with today's standard. It's not happening now, but it used to happen then. And the Prophet followed the tradition that if this was which was not happening then, this he pioneered that. But even if it was happening then, and he is the Prophet of mercy, the Prophet of goodness, coming to set tradition for the rest of humanity to follow, okay, he shouldn't have done that. It's sickening. So their translation, it does not necessarily reflect what's going on. So it starts normally the people who are narrating until it comes to Aisha, who is talking about herself getting married to the Prophet of Allah. So she's saying, the Prophet of Allah married me when I was a child of 6 years old, and then we went to Medina because they were in Mecca, and then they migrated to Medina. But she married him after the death of his first wife, Khadija, and she was 6. And when they migrated to Medina 3 years later, this happened. Okay, they went to certain people to stay there, and she got sick. And while she was a child, when she was sick, she lost her hair. But soon, when she became better, her hair came back. And then her mother came to her while she was playing on a swing with young girls about her age. A child, 9 years old. This is what they do. They play on the swing, and sometimes she says that she was playing with her dolls. She had her dolls and the kids playing on the swing. She was playing with her friends on the swing. So her mother called her. So she went to see her mother, and she didn't know exactly what her mother wanted from her. So she took her by the hand. The mother took Aisha by the hand, and there is a missing part here. Suddenly, they are in front of a door of a house, and she's panting. That means they've been walking for a while. And as they are walking, you have to figure this out. Suddenly she is panting. She cannot breathe. Why? They've been walking for a while in a hot area like Arabia. So she is panting in front of the door when they arrived. Why Aisha is panting and the mother is not? Because the mother is a grown-up person, and her pace as she is walking is much bigger and faster than the 9 years old. So for the child to catch up with that grown-up woman, She almost is like running. So by the time they made it to that house, the mother has no problem. She was not panting, whereas the 9 years old was. That means she was small. She was trying to catch up. Okay? And furthermore, so she gave her some time to rest, and her heavy breathing comes down by the door before coming in. When her breathing came down, she took a little bit of water and she kind of like washed her face and her hair, because I'm sure in the heat of Arabia the temperature gets to like 140 sometimes, and which is about like 50 degree centigrade. So this is hot. So she took some water, she wiped off that sweat, and her breathing came down. All that indicates that this is a child. Because when you speak to many of the people who are trying to justify this behavior, they tell you, no, 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 look, back then, in the heat of Arabia, little girls, they used to mature much faster. They used to go big. They used to be at 9. It's fully woman. Her breast already out, and she is having her period, and she can start having family. Nonsense. This is the case of a 9 years old child. And if you speak to any respected doctor, not one of the doctors who are trying to justify this garbage, a respectable doctor or a biologist, and ask him 14 years ago, 1400 years ago, would any young girl be maturing at the age of 9, that she can be fully matured and get married? The answer is nonsense. Even 2000 years ago or 4000 years ago, a 9 years old is still a 9 years old. Human, we didn't change much. Okay? Especially in an area like Arabia where food is scarce, water is scarce. So she took her after her breathing came down, and she washed her face and hair with some water. She took her inside the house. There were women from the Ansar, a group of people, some women there, and they said like words of congratulations. And the girl doesn't know which it shows she's a little child. The girl doesn't know what the heck is going on. Congratulations. So she entered. So the mother gave that young girl, Aisha, to the women. They took care of her. They fixed her up. That's what the words say. Like, they fixed her hair. If they need some cutting of the hair, wash the hair, wash the face, wash her altogether, preparing her for marriage. And this is a little child. I'm sure if any of you had children, if you had a daughter and the mother is taking the daughter to the shower, the little girl, she goes to the shower with the mother, and the mother takes the clothes off of the little girl, 9 years old, and she washes her and brush her hair and everything, and then she dries her up and take her out. And that what I get from reading this hadith. A 9 years old, and the mother gave her to these women, and the women take care of her, wash her hair, and blah blah blah. And suddenly she sees the Prophet of Allah, and the word that she's using here, فَلَمْ يُرَانِي. This is a word like he terrified me. He frightened her. And you have to stop here and ask, like, if you have a friend of yours that, because her father was the first believer in Muhammad. The first man followed Muhammad, and he followed him since the beginning. And now he is 50. When he started, he was 40. Now he is 54 years old. That means 40. They were at least 40. Her father and mother knew her for 14 years. That means she was born when her father and mother are friends of the Prophet. So suddenly, this time, she sees him and she got so frightened. And the question is why? If I am a friend of yours and suddenly your child is so frightened, I mean, she must have seen me so many times. However, suddenly she is frightened to see me. I must have been in a situation that she is not used to see me in. Then he consummated. He practically, I would say, violated her sexually. Violated her sexually. It's very unfortunate, but this is what happened. Now, why I'm saying that? Because there are many people, Muslim leaders, are trying to justify what happened by saying, oh, she was mature mentally, she was ready. And many say physically, she was good. She was 6'5" with broad shoulders. No, it is all because of shame. And there is a Muslim scholar, his name, maybe I should put him in the description box. Anyway, if anybody needs to know about him, I can find him. He was saying a while ago, he found a way, like copy and paste some stuff here and there, to make Aisha, this young girl, instead of 9 years old, 18. And if she's 18, actually, I have no problem with that. If she is 18 and she's willing, that's her business. She can make her own decision. And that man, Islam al-Bahiri, because he went against the narrative, he was attacked by the rest of Muslim leaders. And he ended up in prison because of his behavior, because of his trying to polish Islam. You can't polish that. And you see the result. You have to say it as it is. Aisha was raped, violated, and more than blaming the Prophet of Allah, I blame her father. Her father betrayed her. Her mother betrayed her. They handed her out to a pedophile person. You see, nowadays, when we catch a pedophile, he goes to prison. But that person, when he is doing that, he keeps it secret, and he intimidates the child not to open the mouth, to keep it secret. And he uses probably all kind of tricks to intimidate that child. But when you are betrayed by your father and mother, sold for sex, practically they are allowing her to become, I'm sorry, a prostitute from the age of 9. So now I'm talking about that because I want to make it clear. you try to justify that or try to polish that with the internet, with the coming of the internet, regardless of how much you try to justify that, regardless of how much you try to polish the image of a person who does something like that, at the end, everything will be exposed. The Prophet of Allah, his time, his days are numbered. Thank you very much. Please subscribe, please share, and let me know if you have any question or suggestion. Have a good day.